Hey everybody, Igor from the Better Life Academy here, and I just finished my workout and I want to talk about a very important topic today, in my opinion important, and you see it in the title of this video, negative emotions and how to get rid of negative emotions. I put this title, I don't agree with this title by the way, I just put the title to attract a little bit of your attention because I want to put a different perspective of negative emotions for you today and make a couple of suggestions and offers. How do you actually work with the negative emotions, define the negative emotions, and understand what the negative emotions actually mean. Before we go into the details of this topic, have you ever felt negative emotions before? And do you know what I'm talking about? Well, today I'm talking about the negative emotions as we call them, like anger, being angry, like fear, being fearful, like frustration maybe, the feeling of being overwhelmed, and so on and so on. So emotions like that, right? And at some point of my life, I called them negative emotions. Not at some point of my life, but the majority of my life, I called them negative emotions. And what I was usually doing with those emotions, I would be getting stuck on them. As soon as I would feel them, I would actually start to focus on them. And we all know by now that where the focus goes, energy flows. And whatever you focus on becomes your reality, because focus actually creates even better and stronger feeling and emotion. And if you already kind of live in this negative emotions world, then it kind of accelerates and actually amplifies your negative emotion, right? When you put focus on. And then you start just live in these emotions, it becomes your reality. And it's not very pleasant place to be in. So what do we do in those cases? How do we work with negative emotions? And what I learned, I'm gonna share with you today. But before I do that, let's define what the negative emotions actually are. And I suggest and offer you today the different approach. There is no, what if I would say you that there are no negative emotions whatsoever? Those are actually the messages of your body and your mind. Just think about it. Those are the messages. Those are not negative emotions, because you have the variety of emotions you just live through, and experience throughout your life. And they all give you different experiences, and all those experiences can be turned out and turned in the direction of the advantage. You can take advantage of them only if you would perceive them differently. You would give them different meaning. So today I suggest you to give different meaning to those negative emotions. And that meaning is they give you messages, they message you, they give you additional information about you, about how do you feel now. And what do we usually do with the information? What do we usually do with the messages which we get from our friends, or at work, or when we are within our family? Well, first of all, we try to understand the message. The second of all, we're trying to process the message. And third of all, we're trying to figure it out, what should we do and act upon that message, right? And we might also try to figure out how do we feel about the message. So all those different things we do, right? We're actually starting to act upon that message. So now, if we put this analogy to our negative emotions as we call them, what should we do about those emotions? Well, we should do something about it, the same way we do with all other messages which we receive every single day. We should act upon it. How do we act? Well, before to understand how do we act, we should understand what this emotion means, right? So first we have to ask ourselves the question, what that emotion actually means. Why do I feel that way? And what do I feel at the moment? And I'll give you some examples, like for example, anger. Why could you feel angry? Well, usually it's because your own rules and standards of your life are being broken, either by you or by someone else. Doesn't matter. But if that happens, you just getting angry. That's the explanation, that's the description, that's the message you're getting. So now you know, if you are getting angry, that means you just violated your major rules yourself Or someone did that. That's why you're angry. How can you fix it? By acting, by actually maybe changing your behavior and, roll it back, whatever you did, or someone did. Or you might want to talk to someone about that and, explain them how do you look at those things, what your rules and standards, internal ones are, and how did you feel about it. And you will understand, and you will probably come up with the agreement with that person, and that will give you closure, and you will not be able to feel angry anymore, right? Another one, fear. Why do you feel fear? It's just your body and mind gives you a message. You gotta do something, you gotta act. Otherwise, you're gonna be fearful. Well, let's say tomorrow you have an exam, right? And you feel fearful of that exam because you are afraid to actually get the very low grade. So body gives you a message, sends you a message, feeling fearful. And to fulfill on that message, what should you do? You just have to go and study and learn and prepare yourself for tomorrow's exam. And as soon as you're gonna do that, your fear gonna disappear, because then you're gonna be confident and certain that everything is going to be fine tomorrow during that exam, because you have just learned. You have to spend time to study. You know what I'm saying? That's what those feelings mean. We have to understand the meaning of them. Another one, frustration. Like, where the frustration coming from? Well, probably and usually from the fact that something is not working. Something we do is not working. What should we do then? We should change, we should pivot, and we should try different ways of that thing to work. That's what we should do. You see, guys, those negative emotions, they are valuable messages of your mind and your body, which they send and being sent to you as information. And so to do and to work with them, we don't need to focus on them and getting stuck on them and, feel even more frustrated just because they are there, but we should perceive them differently. We should perceive them as they are the valuable messages. We should decode them, and then we should act upon them, and we should change the situation we are in. We should change our mindset we are in, and those emotions will disappear, or those emotions will be transformed into the positive emotion of being excited about that exam which is coming up, which you were feeling fearful before, right? Excited about your own rules and standards, and others actually play by those rules and standards of your own, and you not being angry anymore, and so on and so on and so on. So I offer you and suggest to you today to start changing your perceptions of negative emotions. Don't get stuck on them, but look at them as the valuable messages of your body and your mind. And as soon as you feel you have those negative emotions, you do these two things, what I'm going to introduce to you right now. The first thing you do, you try to change the meaning of that. Because usually those negative emotions also come in the way where we think, okay, so that person said something, or that person did something, and that means blah, 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 right? We come up with this meaning, which then create this negative emotion within our mind. So what we need to do is we need to understand the real meaning. And that we can do by asking ourselves the question, what else could it mean? What else could it mean? And we might come up with the answer, and that answer will destroy that negative emotion of yours, because that emotion was built on the wrong meaning, misleading meaning. If you cannot come up with the meaning yourself by answering the question, what else could it mean? You just have to go and talk to that person, maybe who was the source of you understanding that meaning wrongly, and figure it out what was the meaning, what that person meant. And that might give you the closure as well. And that's how you transform that emotion into something different. You're not surpassing it, you're transforming it. You're giving them different meaning. So first, method of how do you transform your negative emotions into something else which is neutral or positive emotion. You give it different meaning. You understand the different meaning by asking yourself the question, what else could it mean? Or asking that question to someone who was the source of creating that meaning for you. Okay? And last but not least, you take action, because those negative emotions are call to actions. Those are the messages. And whatever this message is, you have to act up on it. Don't get stuck on it. Don't dwell on it. And just do something about it by recognizing where this emotion comes from, by understanding what this emotion actually means, the meaning, by understanding how do you feel, where this feeling comes from, and then act up on that. Based on all those things, you will understand how to act, and you're going to be acting up on that, and that your action will actually transform that particular emotion into something more pleasurable, like being excited, like being happy, like being super glad and fulfilled, and things like that. Okay? All right, obviously, guys, that is pretty huge topic, and I could not just, put it into this 10 minutes conversation, but I tried to give you a little glimpse of how you can actually work with emotions, how you can describe those emotions, how you can change the meaning, and how you can act up on those emotions to transform them from that negative state, as we call them, into something more positive. But overall, look at them as the very valuable messages. I think this is the major message I wanted to give to you today. Look at them as the major and valuable message which you are getting from your body and your mind, and act up on it. Use this information, process this information, and act up on it, and change something around it or about it, and you're going to be golden, and you're never going to be ever feeling negative emotions anymore. You're only going to be supplied and supported by your mind and your body by sending you valuable messages. How great is that? Is that completely different meaning? Is that completely different perception of how to look at the negative emotions? Not start dwelling on it, but actually acting on it? I think it is. And that's what I want to leave you today with. Igor from the Better Life Academy.